Now let's return to that clash of the titans, and what a clash. Barrister Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister with an iron grip, versus Senator Ajibola Bashiru, the APC national secretary, with fire in his belly. Mr. Wike warns Mr. Bashiru, stay out of Rivers State, calling it a no-go area and accusing Mr. Bashiru of being interested in the state's resources. But Mr. Bashiru fires back, calling for Mr. Wike's resignation as Minister of Abuja, insisting that it's incompatible for Mr. Wike to remain in the cabinet whilst allegedly causing internal disarray within the party. Mr. Bashiru was categorical that Minister Wike's support for President Tinubu doesn't make him an APC member, and therefore he lacks the locus to interfere in the party's affairs. So, in the battle for supremacy in Rivers State, politics just got personal. Who will win this high-stakes showdown? Well, for their considered assessment, I'm joined now in the studio by the political analyst and executive director of Development Specs Academy, Professor Okey Ikechukwu, who's a member of the editorial board of This Day newspaper and is also a professor of strategic management and human capital development, and by Arise News analyst and former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, Mahmood Jega. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for coming in. And just a Happy New Year again, because I haven't seen you this year. Let me start with you, Prof. How much of a bombshell is this?
It's not unexpected. Wike is not a member of APC, therefore he cannot be saying what's happening in APC. Let's get the facts. The head of the party in a state like in Rivers, the head of APC, while Fubara was in PDP, was the party chairman. With Fubara as a member of APC, he becomes the leader of the party. Now, between the leader and the chairman, I don't know of any other locus of authority within the party. For you to then have somebody who is not a card-carrying member of the party, taking positions, warning people to stay out of Rivers politics, not PDP politics in Rivers, not APC politics, but Rivers, is that his private property? So those are the issues on the table that rankle. Now, concerning the letter, if I was in the secretary's position, I would be scandalized to keep quiet and allow this to happen. So I believe the man has acted promptly, in fact, too late. The other point, that's the distinction between supporting the president and being a member of the party, must also be noted. I can support your program. Very enlightening, highly cerebral and the rest of it. That does not make me a staff of Arise News. No matter how much I love the program, or I like to see Charles every week, I cannot then come to management and say, well, I didn't see Charles on Thursday. That's the point. So at the level of objective assessment of the issues on the table, I believe that Wike has been living a charmed life for far too long. Is the wretchedness of the PDP that's made him to be carrying on? Because why hasn't he been fired from that party all this while? That's question number one. Question number two, Wike himself has to be careful. You know, there's a difference between being connected to the national grid and being connected to a UPS. If you're connected to NEPA, the old NEPA, you know, there will be light if there's no light. But if you're connected to a UPS, the type of the one you attach to your computer, whenever there's no light in that UPS, you're gone. Now, Wike is connected to a UPS called President Tinubu. That's the source of his power. He's not aware of it. So he's carrying on as if he has extra powers coming from the moon. He doesn't. Let him look at the story of Andy Oba, about the most powerful person in Nigeria under Obasanjo. And this was the analogy I used when his issue was raised. I said, Andy, my dear brother, is on a UPS called Obasanjo, but he doesn't know. Once the national grid collapses, the power of the UPS will last for some time and will be gone. Wike is on UPS. Somebody should tell him.
That's a very interesting assessment. And let me come to you, Mahmood Jega. What is your assessment of this, if you like, power tangle that's going on between these two fairly formidable forces?
It's more than, in fact, the two of them. It's just that, as far as I can see, Minister Wike's system of running with the hare and hunting with the hound is slowly unraveling. It's even before the National Secretary Ajibola Bashiru made this statement The national chairman of APC, Nentawe Ilwatra, was on Channels Television a few days ago as affirming that under the APC constitution, governors are the leaders of the parties in their states. Now, I can see, you have to be very careful because the APC is close to having 30 of the 36 governors in the country. I think they already have 29, and very soon they will have the 30th one in Kano or somewhere. And you have to get the structure very correctly because within the APC, as big as it is now, there are certain federal officials who are obviously higher in political rank than the governors. Now, not only the chairman and the secretary, the vice president also spoke in Enugu last week, where he said, I am the vice president, but in my state of Borno, it is Governor Zulum who is the leader of the party. And he pointed to the Senate president and said, in his state of Akwa Ibom, it is Governor Uno who is the leader. And you know, because there are others, and he even also pointed to the governor of Kaduna who was sitting there, because the Speaker of the House of Representatives is from Kaduna State. So you have to make it clear that, okay, you are Speaker number 4 in the national order of ranking, but the governor of Kaduna State is the party leader there. And you see, we also see what is happening like in Benue State, where there is a secretary to the federal government who is a very senior federal official. And he is in some tussle with the governor who is of the same party. So the party has to be clear who is the leader of the party in that state. But all this problem arose. Mr. Wike insists that he is in PDP, but he is doing APC's bidding in PDP, not just River State, in the whole national PDP, to destroy it as a viable opposition party. And his belief is that the APC leaders know that in spirit I am with them. My staying in PDP is in order to destroy it in the service of the president's re-election bid in 2027. Okay, the president in particular is probably happy with that, and the other party leaders also lived with it for a time. But it is now coming up against other things, like the governors trying to assert themselves. And there are so many of them. When you have 30 governors in the party, I can imagine they are putting pressure on the national leadership and saying, look, make it clear who is the leader of the party in each state. Exactly, because this problem is not only in Rivers, it is already happening in Benue, and it could happen again in Borno or in Kaduna or anywhere.
Well, in the context of River State, which is where this particular crisis appears to be boiling over, we obviously have Wike loyalists, many of them, including the vice chairman of the South who made that statement, Giadom. And those loyalists, many of them are now members of the APC. And now you've got Fubara, with whom they had a problem, which made them move into the APC, now in the APC as their leader. How do you square that circle?
There's nothing to square. Wike has lost. Now, those who are loyal to Wike, they were not loyal to him because they were in love with him or because he makes the best pepper soup for them. You're
making me hungry now.
I am hungry already. It's because they see their political future nurtured, supported, and fertilized by Wike's continued dominance. So it was not a personal loyalty. Now, the whole machine they boarded, the vehicle they boarded has got a new driver. And that driver is driving towards a spring where there's water. Wike is on the roadside saying, listen, don't follow that bus. I'll bring a bus. Nobody's going to come down. So you then see the concept of political loyalty within the context of political futures, not personal love, not anything. And that's a lesson I thought Wike himself should have learned, given his own personal history, his relationship with some of those who nurtured him, like Odile and co. So the facts are very clear. Loyal to the among them, somebody could then get up and say, look, I am loyal to my party. When I was in PDP, I was loyal to the party. Now I'm in APC, I'm loyal to the party. And as a party man, I'm loyal to my leader. Before the governor defected, my leader was the party chairman. Now, as per APC constitution, the governor is now the party leader, and we are loyal to him through the chairman, who is our chief loyalist, etc. All grammar in the name of survival in politics. Now, Wike, I use the analogy of the UPS. Let us suppose tomorrow, instead of Wike resigning, the president says, look, I'm resigning. I'm handing over to Shetima or whatever configuration comes up later. Do you suppose that Wike will be a minister in the next 30 minutes? The answer is no. And I dare not say I'm speculating, I'm sure. Is he thinking about that? The other thing, of course, is also for the APC to worry. Because with all these, with all these defections, remember that for each case of defection, a party chairman is displaced. And this chairman may be somebody who had been at daggers drawn with the governor for the last 2 years. They don't suddenly become friends because he has seen himself displaced. He wouldn't be happy. So while the APC is celebrating the defections, you should also know that the recent reconciliation committee is set up will not do what needs to be done for that to happen. And they have to find out how to deal with the likely internal schisms that could even make some do anti-party in 2027. Okay, he came over, he has put, let's make sure he doesn't win. Anybody can take the state. That kind of bloody-mindedness is in politics. But the only victim I see in the line of fire in all of this is just some Wike. Well, and how he's still speaking suggests that he's not seeing the reality at all.
Well, I wonder what you think of that, Mahmood Jega, because Governor Fubara's move to the APC seems to have won him support, so certainly from Bashiru, who is the National Secretary and who I'm told speaks on behalf of the NWC of the party. So he now seems to enjoy Governor Fubara considerable support. Do you think, or how much do you think that might put Wike on edge? And whether or not you agree with Professor Ikechukwu that Rivers State may potentially be slipping away from him, and perhaps not just Rivers State, but also on a national level?
You see, there are many things. As Prof said, it's very important to be reading the situation. In the Tinubu presidency's 2027 political calculus, Rivers State is sleeping. You see, it was more important in 2023 than it promises to be next time. By the time you have 30 governors in the kitty, and you say, okay, even if we lose,
yes, I see what you mean.
It's no longer as critical as it was when Wike brought it.
So in that sense, do you think Minister Wike's enemies in the APC are beginning to smell blood?
Well, he has garnered a lot of them. Even though, like your guest, the former party chieftain, said, it is very important for discipline for them to reassert what is constitutional and traditional in party leadership at various levels. It is very important because if you don't assert it at the state level with all these many governors, you don't know, the problem could cascade to other places, including at the federal level. Right now, nobody within APC seems to be challenging the president's leadership of the party. But if you allow governors to be easily displaced by ministers and other senior officials, at one point somebody could also say, well, the tradition of making the president the unquestioned party leader could also be a challenge. That's part of the issue. But the political indispensability of Minister Wike 2-3 years ago is weakening by the day with all this influx into. He thinks he has done a very big contribution to the president in particular by destroying PDP. And what the party secretary was saying, well, if you want to play with us, better come into the party. Now, if he does that tomorrow, it will have many implications because his so-called faction of PDP will collapse, and then PDP will be able to regain its composure in time for the 2020, because all these governors are leaving, PDP governors are leaving because they think, well, will this party be available as a platform next year the way things are going? INEC is not recognizing the leadership. There are so many court cases, all of them engineered by Mr. Wike, incidentally. So if he were to say tomorrow there is no longer a PDP member, that allows the secretariat will reopen, the executive that they elected in Ibadan will take over, and given the problems that the APC is having with the Nigerian population, PDP may be able to recover very quickly. I mean, if they are together. So by now, he himself must be weighing his options. Should I simply go to APC, which I have been working for? But if I do that, that allows PDP to, and it's a difficult calculation.
It's a difficult calculation, but it's a very interesting analysis, I have to say. And Professor Ikechukwu, what about Governor Fubara? I mean, do you think his switch to the APC can or might shift the balance of power in Rivers State, given this, your assessment of the waning influence of Nyesom Wike?
First, his move was very strategic, both for himself and the president. It was well orchestrated, very well executed. Let us look at the indices on the table. Wike had held that party down for a long time and used influence to achieve a lot of things, used resources too. Today, the resources going to Nyesom Wike are the discretion of the president, and by statute through the budget. There can be extra. The resources available to Fubara is statutory, comes in every month in in quite a quantum of billions. So on the power of patronage, he has a massive advantage because it's not his own resource or resources. On the power of being on the ground, he's living there with them. And somebody will have a naming ceremony and he will send something. He has control. He understands the terrain. He was chief accountant for the state. He knows where all the bones are buried. He knows those that can be resurrected if there's need. He's a native doctor in that terrain. And they should say as well. So he has a kind of advantage that Wike cannot contemplate unless you don't understand, unless the person doesn't understand power politics. Wike's dependency today is 100% financially, so he no longer has the resources. In terms of reach, they are poaching his people because he also got them by paying. So whoever is paying at the moment will pick quite a number of them. I think, was it yesterday, he went to tell one traditional ruler during his visit to one of the local governments, yes, that warned them against Fubara, that he can't be allowed to come back. If he comes back and finish politically, you think you're talking to kindergarten children? Even those standing with him and talk, look at all of them and tell me which of them, looking at them, is capable of loyalty beyond 24 hours if you've lost. So it means that, and his triumphalism also, with all due respect, must be found offensive by many power brokers. If today he declares for PDP, for APC, there'll be some panic. Nobody's going to allow him to be on top because they've seen how he shouts down and dictates. So some will say, we'll now cut him to size. Wike is in trouble.
And I wonder what you would say to that as a final word, because there are those who say that you should never underestimate Nyesom Wike when it comes to Nigerian politics. He's a cat with 9 lives.
He has his very strong points, in particular his ability to deliver on major projects. He showed that in Rivers State, and he's really showing that in the FCT. But it is his character, his politics, that I'm not surprised seems to alienate a lot of other powerful people.
But it's not alienating the president.
Not the president yet, but time will come when the president may be forced to make a choice between him and so many other power centers that are alienated. That's the danger.
Sorry, I don't even know whether he's not alienating the president, you know. You may carry on up to a point that is difficult to advise you. So you're allowed to self-destruct, and then we blame it on the devil. But you would have achieved all the things set in line for you to achieve. You've done all of that, and so, oh, if only this didn't happen, you know, you would have still been there. Strategic engagement in order to displace irritants, particularly after the goals set for them have been achieved. Wike, for me, is a major, there's a painful note when I think of him. Recall that it was Wike who told Nigerians about the extra funds given to the oil extra funds given to the South states. He used it to transform Port Harcourt. We couldn't recognize. Look at FCT. So if you're looking for somebody, for instance, to be Minister of Works in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I have veto power, it will be Wike. But you now look at it, like Mahmoud said, the politics. A power player who only understands the first person singular will only work with errand boys and not co-pilots.
Right. And let me let you finish your thoughts there, Mahmoud, before we have to run.
That's it. A minister of the Federal Capital Territory is a lot of politics. It's not just projects. It's not just projects. It's a virtual state governor also, and minister. It's a unique position in the Nigerian arrangement. And the way he shouts, goes to construction sites to fight military people, and then goes to cause confusion in Rivers State, and holds all these press conferences, says all kinds of things. That kind of person will not be likable to many people in politics.
On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. Mahmoud Jega is a Rise News analyst, former chairman of the editorial board of Daily Trust newspaper, and of course Professor Okey Ikechukwu is a member of the editorial board of this day newspaper, a political analyst, executive director of Development Specs Academy, and a professor of strategic management and human capital development. Thank you very much indeed.